So Darren G has a rival, a guy called Sam Walker, who has turned up in Ireland. Quite a colourful character. He's claimed most recently that the Gardaí have 50 diamonds that they took from him. Clearly we don't have...
Well, I'd say you've insulted both of them now quite significantly.
Why?
By mentioning them in the same sentence.
They hate one another.
They both dislike each other intensely.
They are rivals.
And no, in regard the other as a spoofer and
really?
That sort of thing.
But they both have a similar kind of trajectory. They're ex-criminals with a kind of a deep history and knowledge of the underworld. And they've become sort of social media stars with their bizarre videos. I mean, I have to say, Sam Walker's new to me now, but I was watching him after we decided we'd do a little podcast on him. But I do often quite like to look at Darren G, which is quite funny. Yeah. He goes on these sort of skateboard tours of Liverpool and then he hops on a bike and he has all these sort of random...
Does raps.
He does raps and he has random thought processes and he's a constant critic of Daniel Kinahan from his room. But, you wonder, you see him and you go, how's the guy alive? And he seems to just keep trucking along. And, is his social media stardom a sort of a level of protection for him, I wonder?
Look, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it probably is. I mean, Darren G is certainly very unpredictable sort of character, Sam Walker, probably even more than Darren G, is a genuine, hugely followed Tik Tok personality.
400,000 plus
400,000 plus, which would really put him in that sort of top league of social media influencers. And he hasn't appeared like Darren G has appeared on a lot of these sort of long form podcasts, being interviewed by, kind of crime podcasters, I suppose, slightly different than our own, let's put it that way. But Sam Walker, just like Darren G, has a very serious criminal past.
What is that?
For example, in 2016, and now we don't obviously follow these cases in the way, so we're picking up what we read. But in 2016, a judge said he had a dreadful and varied criminal record, including serious drug offences, firearms. And in 2008, probably was one of his first major convictions. He was given a 4.5-year sentence for his role in a crack cocaine dealing gang. That gang had, I think, £12 million worth of drugs seized, as well as cars and other sort of luxury goods. So he would have been in Liverpool. So he would have been a young man, and he's amassed, I think it says in one of the stories, 140 criminal convictions. But Sam Walker probably became more famous, not as a result of his criminal activity, but as a result of his social media presence while behind bars. So he was in prison and he seemed to have had access to a phone, as many do.
Surprise.
And he was...
First shocker of this podcast.
Yeah. So he was kind of updating basically from, I think it was Her Majesty's Prison, Whitemoor. Yeah. And he was taking, I think he took a picture of Charles Bronson, the famous criminal hard man that's been in prison for years. He was also involved in a few of these kind of lives, and they became big news. That's kind of why he... Yeah,
so he's in behind bars and he's building his social media presence because of that.
Yeah.
And of course, there will be people interested in that, getting a little glimpse into life behind bars. Yeah. There's that whole, ability to stream from the prison system and, so you're going to start building up a little bit of a presence from that kind of activity.
Then when he got out, I think it was in 2018 initially, he has relatives from Sierra Leone in Africa, and he seems to have been wanted on some offence, probably not a major offence. He's either been out on licence or just, is facing a suspended sentence being reactivated, and he fled the country while recording the whole thing on social media. So there was this elaborate scheme. I think he got a private jet to Europe, and then he seems to have got a boat from Spain to Morocco. I can't remember the exact details, and then drove 3 hours over the Sahara Desert.
Planes, trains and automobiles to get to his relatives in Sierra Leone.
Yes, all the time recording it, putting it up. And it was a thing he repeated again this year. He did the same thing, and he seems to have been in a helicopter at one point. And in fact, it was reported in the London Independent at the time, but there was sure nobody was looking for him. He could have just walked away. They wouldn't have stopped him. But however, he was sort of taunting the police.
Now, he claimed he was involved in some charity work out there, installing water into villages.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's
others hadn't.
Yeah, I mean, look, when he was in prison in 2020, for example, and this probably shows he received another 18 months because he seemed to have had a row with a prison officer, and then some sort of properties were burnt out. So he's certainly a serious criminal. However, he has gone over to Sierra Leone, and if you go back and look through all of his TikToks, he does seem to have built wells for people. You know, he does seem to have raised money for charities over there. I think he's helped children who are have trouble with blindness. He certainly does seem to have gone out and built sort of wells in places that aren't being reached by charities.
While collecting, what he describes as his personal collection of diamonds, because of course Sierra Leone would be synonymous with those blood diamonds and a place where people invest in these jewels, which are really soaked in sort of blood and misery. Yeah,
I mean, it's, there's obviously diamonds are obviously, not to state the absolute obvious, they're very expensive, but they're very small, and that gives them huge value. The blood diamonds situation was described as people exploiting people over there, exploiting land, getting blood diamonds out, selling them on the black market for cheap prices and being bought by Western companies. And it was a big sort of campaign that these diamonds were ultimately being sold in legitimate jewelers in the West, but that they'd only got their hands on them as a result of exploitation, where, both the resources and the people in these countries were being exploited. So Sam Walker certainly seems to have a connection with the country and wouldn't...
We haven't actually seen his collection of diamonds.
Oh, we have. If you go back far
enough. Has he got 50 of them in his...
Well, you've seen him in pouring the diamonds out, or what looked like diamonds, and absolutely does seem to have access to diamonds, in fairness. So what happens is, anyway...
fast forward to his visit here to Ireland.
Yes, which we do know more about.
Yeah.
So he's been over in Sierra Leone for most of the last few months. There were stories in the media, he taunting police when he's over there. Then when he's over there, he seems to get into various scrapes, seemed to have been arrested at some point. Whatever. But anyway, he lands in Dublin a couple of weeks ago. Now, he subsequently landed in a hotel. He's doing a daily sort of update. And at some point, he's speaking about having diamonds on him and also a bit of cash. You see him walking through Dublin. People recognize him. For some, he certainly is a Robin Hood type of figure. People take his charity work at face value. And you can see him walking through Dublin and people are shouting at him and recognising him, and he's sort of lapping it up. But at some point, obviously, he has an interaction with the Gardaí. Let's put it that way. He's driving through the city centre. Whether he's being monitored or it's a routine stop, it's not clear, but he's pulled over and he's found to be driving a car without insurance and with false licence.
Now, is he wanted in the UK on a suspended sentence that's been reactivated? When he did come to court, and this is, you read all sorts of different things, and he says different things, and other people say different things about him. However, when he came to court in Ireland, and this is really a relatively minor charges that he's facing, all that was said was, the guard said he has no convictions in this jurisdiction. We're checking with the UK. We haven't received any information back from him about his convictions or whether he is wanted. If he is wanted, it seems to, according to some of the reports, it'd be for relatively minor offences, that he served the bulk of his time for the major crimes that he was convicted of. So he stopped. He's arrested, obviously, for driving offences, relatively minor driving offences. During his arrest, according to him, the Gardaí sees 50, as he described them, 50 odd diamonds from him.
as well as a sum of cash.
So now he goes to court, obviously, and is caught in the court live streaming the court proceedings.
Yeah.
And this is seen outside a court by a Garda who isn't involved in his case, but who is watching it live.
Yeah.
And the attention of the judge is brought to the fact that he's videoing. Because, of course, for those who don't know, you are absolutely not allowed video in court or live stream from court.
Or take a picture in the court, inside the court building, let alone in the court. I mean, it's absolutely...
It's totally bad. And you can be done for contempt of court for that.
You will be done. It's not just...
Many people are.
Yeah.
But when this was brought up to the judge, he actually said himself that he didn't realise the thing was still on. He had it on.
Yeah.
And he certainly would have switched it off had he known it was still live streaming. I think 2,500 people were watching it. So he got a kind of a rap on the knuckles for that. He didn't certainly get jailed. But nonetheless, he walks away.
Yeah.
And is he still here, or is he gone back to Sierra Leone?
No, he's still here at the last update. So he walks out of court, does another video. Then he has to go in, I think, and sign on in, I think it's Store Street Station. Goes in and signs on, records all of that, which I'm sure probably not going to do.
Either now.
But anyway, comes out of Store Street, is walking around here, around the Talbot Street area. And as he's doing a live, some, let's say, young fella runs up, and you can see it happening.
Wallops him.
Well, yeah, wallops him, or Sam Walker describes it. You can see he's hooded and his face is masked.
Yeah.
And he says he took out a knife and attacks him.
Mm-hmm.
So while Teddy gives the updates on Faith, people want to gift him because of the good work he does. Come on. Come on. Let's have him, lad. Come on, you shitbag. Let's have it. Why are you running away, you shitbag? Come out, you shithouse. Let's have it, lad.
So he continues to live stream through it. Sam Walker shouts.
This guy would live stream through absolutely anything, would he?
Yeah, well, I mean, in fairness,
he's
been attacked with a knife. And, Sam Walker gets up and he shouts at him, go on, is it a shite bag or shit bag? I've actually written it up for the Sunday World and I asterisked out the IT, but I think we're allowed to say it.
Yeah.
Let's have it, he says. Why are you running away, you shit bag? So he does sort of chases him down the street after your man attacks him. In fairness.
So he's self-imposed live streaming his entire life, even though he's the one who is sort of setting the narrative that he's in Sierra Leone, taunting the police in England who want them, while we know that certainly the Irish authorities, given that he's come to the attention, have, I suppose, reached out to their UK counterparts to see, do you want him? There's no suggestion yet that he is being transported back to the UK.
No, I don't know. He's not. I mean, he's still floating around, and then he's obviously speaking.
What's he doing here?
Well, I don't know.
Like, what is he doing here?
Well, I mean, if he walks down the street, you'll see people stopping him, and I
went to Canada one year on a sort of a long weekend holiday to Toronto, and I don't know how many people in Toronto said to me, what are you doing here?
Why are you coming here?
Why here? Like, why? And I was going, well, I've been to New York countless times, and I sort of thought I'd try Canada, and it's an easy long weekend destination. But they were just looking at me going, but then I asked Sam Walker, what are you doing here? Like, why?
And he's staying in a hotel. I don't know where it is, but he doesn't give it a good... He
doesn't give it a good rating?
No, because it doesn't look that great, and he is paying a lot of money. However...
So he's an attention seeker, our Sam Walker.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
Why doesn't starring G like him?
I'd have to go back. I mean, I don't know if I have enough time to find out the origin of it.
The origin of the row.
Well, they're obviously both from the same cities.
And they're both trying to do the same thing, which is basically become social media influencers with their sort of backstory as edgy criminals.
Yeah, I mean, Sam Walker and Darren G are, I don't know if they're trying to become I think they probably are social media stars.
Yeah. They are also edgy criminals, really, as well.
Exactly.
They are both those things.
It's a phenomenon.
And we talked about this phenomenon there recently, and this blurring of lines that is really happening so fast nowadays that, criminals, some of them veteran type criminals who have got something to say and stories to tell, and who've maybe retired out of violence and all the rest of it, how they are, using their celebrity to become podcasters, to write books, to talk about their adventures in the criminal underworld.
Perfect. One might say podcasting and writing books is the perfect career choice for a chancellor of some type.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it.
Well,
But,
can I read out about what he said on his TikTok about the diamonds being seized from him by the Gardaí?
go on. And we don't know. We have no confirmation. I mean,
Well,
if 50 diamonds were seized by Gardaí,
no,
firstly, I mean...
No, he has recorded a conversation of him talking what appears to be the guards about the diamonds. So I do think diamonds were seized.
So let's just say, I'm just saying hypothetically, let's say these so-called diamonds were seized. What are we looking at here? This guy doesn't live in the jurisdiction. Why would they be seized? Firstly, they would have to send them for analysis to see, are they pieces of glass or are they diamonds? What are they dealing with? What is their value? But
I think you could seize it on suspicion of money laundering. I mean, that would be and I think that's what he says himself.
Yeah.
Now, if you get caught with a huge amount of money in cash,
you do have to explain it here.
Guards can seize it, and then you get an opportunity, police property hearing, I think it's called, isn't it? Where you can go and say, well, look, here's my receipt. I took that money out of the bank that day.
This is mine. Yeah.
I was going to pay for my house to be done up.
And if you don't win that, it's going to follow on through to become a proceeds of crime case.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, if that would be the opportunity, it doesn't mean that it is money laundering. It just means that's...
If you had 50 diamonds, like that were proper diamonds, and you were obviously coming on a sort of a social media holiday to Dublin.
Yeah. Well, he says...
Float around. Why would you bring them with you?
Well, I'm going to tell you exactly why I'm going to bring them. Mr. Walker said... I had 50 odd diamonds at least. There was a minimum of 50. They were my own personal collection. I told them, speaking to the Gardaí.
Yeah.
And he said, every diamond jeweler has his own personal collection. So he's a diamond sort of collector, he's claiming.
I got it on record. Do you know when I recorded it busy? And I'm speaking to him. And I'm saying to him, look, where's the fucking paperwork for these diamonds and money? You get an email to you. So that day was confirmation that they had took my diamonds and money. So I thought, right, I've got to upload this. So I uploaded it. So I had evidence there, because if they hadn't took me diamonds and money, he'd be like, I don't know what you're on about. But he didn't. He said, it's going to be emailed to you. So 50 odd diamonds at least. There was minimum 50. At least. But my own personal collection, I told them. I said, every diamond jeweler has their own personal collection. I said, he said, well, why do you have your own personal collection? I said, because what do you mean, why do I have my own personal? Well, have you got a hobby?
Right, so you just carry them with you wherever you go.
Well, that's what he says. And he said, he asked
your marbles.
The guard says, why do you have your own personal collection? And Sam Walker says to him, have you got a hobby? And the guard, no, I don't, he said.
Classic, yeah. I like to come
Walker said, my granddad had a hobby. He used to like stamps. He had thousands of stamps. It's the same with me. I like diamonds. So my hobby is collecting unusual diamonds.
Right.
That's what I have.
Okay.
So that's his answer to you.
Well, that's all very well if he can prove how he could afford them. I suppose the grandfather's stamps mightn't have been quite as
valuable.
Yeah, or as as bought in places the likes with the reputation of Sierra Leone. Did you collect stamps as a matter of interest?
I
bet you did.
No, I didn't collect.
But tell the truth here. There's no one listening.
No, I didn't.
It's just me and you.
I didn't collect stamps or
coins.
No, nothing. Nothing. I mean, I collected wrestling figures. I think would be about the extent of it.
That's
Star Wars.
You're just happy to say that.
No, I didn't.
Manly. So.
I don't know if it is, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah, the old stamp collecting, I think, has gone for a Burton, hasn't it?
Well, it probably has. But yeah, so Sam Walker is still in Ireland, as I said, and I mean, it is amazing. I suppose the other thing is about things like TikTok, which of course politicians and everybody else is attempting to access and have a presence on. But I don't think TikTok is used by, I can't imagine an exact figure, but it must be something like 10% of the population, if not more. But people can become really, really famous without the public realising that these people are famous. And Sam Walker...
Without doing anything.
Well, Mel, I don't know. I mean, it's content, same as anything else, but you can have a whole group of people in a sort of a relatively big subsection of society that are super famous. And you can have 90% of the public not have a clue who they are. But Sam Walker walks through the streets and he is greeted by
young lads. And is Sam Walker spreading any kind of message, or is he trying to speak to young people, or is he literally just showing the adventures of his life in a kind of a...
No, I think like a lot of these influencers...
Here's my breakfast thing.
I mean, Darren G as well, like they do have a kind of a message.
Well, Darren G certainly believes he has a message, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is like against his rivals and, you know, people he perceives to have him under threat and all the rest of it.
But he does have a kind of a general thing that a life of crime leads nowhere.
Well, he's all into, you know, put down the knives and...
Yeah,
you know.
but I think Sam Walker does. I mean, it says in the court case, his solicitor says he is due to travel back to Sierra Leone. And his solicitor says his business is there. He's engaged in charity work, which is something he's very proud of. So he does have a message of...
Yeah,
that's his message.
He might be sorry about his little foray into Dublin, will he?
Might be.
If he is actually, seriously, if there is something waiting for him in the UK, as he seems to believe there is, if he's taunting the police there, you know, while obviously the UK is no longer Europe, there's very simple transfer routes for anybody who's wanted within the criminal justice system between the two countries.
But I looked at the comments on our Facebook page, and half of them are, you know, he's so great, Sam. He's so inspirational. And the other half are like a Gangster and you know, all of that. Like, you know, he's a spoofer and all.
Yeah.
So it's a funny thing, you know.
Okay. And and look, a spoofer that we're talking about. So that's Sam Walker. I've no doubt, absolutely zero doubt, this is going to be the first of quite a few conversations we have about Mr. Walker over the coming months and perhaps years.
Yes. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Nat. I'm Nicola Tallant and you're watching Crime World, a podcast about criminals, drugs and the underworld in Ireland and across the globe. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you can be the first to watch all our latest episodes. You can also listen wherever you get your podcasts.